Across the Nation news segment here at AmericanFreePress.net. I'm AFP corresponding editor Mark Anderson, and I'm with the Willacy County, Texas DA Juan Guerra, and I've been spending some time with him today discussing matters of 8 indictments that were recently thrown out by a judge here. These indictments include former U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales and the current Vice President Richard Cheney. Thanks for being with me today, Mr. Guerra.
Thanks for having me.
If you would explain briefly your current situation. As I understand it, you'll no longer be the DA here in Willacy County, Texas for much longer because your term has expired and you did not happen to win re-election. But in the wake of these indictments being thrown out, what is the basic situation here? What are Cheney and Guerra, or excuse me, Cheney and Gonzales, what were they indicted for? Because they're 2 big names here. And basically what's happening here?
Well, they got indicted for engaging criminal activity, engaging organized crime, basically, and it's the equivalent of RICO in the federal statute. And the cases were thrown out on a technicality that really, it's not a technicality, but the judge went ahead and said it was. But they don't want to get into the merits of the case, because if they were to get into the merits of the case, it would be very, very easy for a jury to go ahead and convict Alberto Gonzales and Dick Cheney and, of course, Senator Eddie Lucio. And so the situation is that the courts under Manuel Bañales, is trying to do everything they can to go ahead and dismiss this thing so that it doesn't go anywhere. But like I told you before, I welcome any professors, any attorneys, anybody out there to come and look at the evidence, and they will see that we have a very, very good case against all these 3 people.
And the indictments also went against GEO, the former Wackenhut, and I believe a GEO official, and that's companies involved in privately running prisons.
Yes, prisons for profit. They also indicted the GEO group and the warden for 3 counts of murder, because they're allowing people to get killed inside the private prisons. In this case, they did not have enough guards to protect Mr. De La Rosa. But in investigating that, you find out throughout the country that they're lacking guards, they're not training them properly, they're paying a minimum wage, and so that people are more likely to get killed in a private prison. You're 5 times more likely to get killed in a private prison than you are in a government-run prison.
Where and when was De La Rosa killed?
He was killed here in 2001, here in Willacy County, in a privately run prison.
In Raymondville, Texas?
Yes.
And as I understand it, that's where these facilities are grouped together in that one city within this county.
Yes, and of course that's why I have jurisdiction. And
correct.
The connection, as I explained with Dick Cheney and Alberto Gonzales, is that Mr. Cheney has investments in all these 3 private companies, the biggest private companies for private prisons. He has investments. The problem with Mr. Cheney is that he went outside his blind trust and started investing on the side. And so because he started investing on the side, you can track his income tax return. And in his income tax return, he signs it, and there is very clear where he has the investment of Vanguard.
It shows intent. Had he stayed within the blind trust, he would have been okay.
Yeah, because he would have no idea where his money is invested. But now he has an idea. He knows that his money is, at least some of his money, that he is investing on the side, outside the blind trust, where he's invested in these prisons for profit.
The indictments were thrown out in Willacy County here in Texas December 1st. You're not in office much longer. Where do you go from here? Even though there seems to be a lot of substance here behind what you were doing, they were thrown out on this technicality. Where do you go from here? What's happening?
Well, first of all, the grand jury is going to meet again, and I can't discuss what's going to happen. I'm still the district attorney, and we still have a grand jury. The grand jury is a body that acts on its own. I mean, if they want to re-indict, they can re-indict. That's one. Second, my deal was I'm doing my job all the way to the end. I'm getting the word out. They keep saying, why did you wait so long to indict these people? I've been trying to indict these people for the past 3 years. But every time that I try to do any of this, as I was mentioning, I get arrested. I got arrested twice. Both times they broke into my grand jury. The first time, Judge Migdalia Lopez took me out of one of my grand juries and put my nemesis, Gas Garza, in charge of that grand jury. So that went nowhere. The next grand jury, we were about discussing all these things, and what happened next is that the officers went in there and dissolved the grand jury and told them basically that this was an illegal meeting, and if they did not disperse, that they were going to be arrested. So now you have them interfering with the grand jury. So I finally got this grand jury after I had lost, because nobody knew, and so I went ahead and did an Operation Goliath, where I did it outside the office, and so nobody knew that I continued with my investigation. So I presented all the evidence, and long story short, all these people got indicted.
Your office, your actual office had been ransacked when you tried to do this at your
they
office.
ransacked my office, and all you can see on the video where they all the investigation on private prisons and who's getting monies was laid all over the conference table. So I know that they had gone through those papers.
This was a video taken by a local TV news crew, or?
Yeah, the local TV news. When I went back to my office 3 days later, when they finally gave me the key, I went ahead and I invited the local media so that they could videotape, how they left my office. And the first thing I noticed is that my file that had to do with the investigation of private prisons and who's making money off of this, and the Justice Department, all that was spread out in the conference room. The conference table. So I knew that was their main reason as to why they were investigating this.
Interesting that you call it Operation Goliath when you're kind of the David fighting Goliath here, it seems.
Yeah, we came up with that name, when we started the investigation, Operation Goliath, because we had to keep it secret. So when people that were involved in helping me, they would call me and say, David, I knew that they were talking about that it was one of the people that we could trust. Remember, we had people, this that you see here was not just me doing all this. I mean, we had people from all over the country that was bringing me information, that was constantly researching and doing what I needed to do. Anybody that looks at this and they can't believe that I would be able to put an operation like this or an investigation like this with limited amount of sources and keep it where nobody knew, the Texas Rangers or the FBI or government officials, and we were still able to put all this information, gather all the information.
Okay, well, to sum it up then, your successor in the DA's office, you do not expect to pursue this any further?
No, he's going to be like all the other district attorneys that we have throughout the country. I'm not saying that they're bad district attorneys, but they got to put their political life, political career versus doing something like this. It is not politically correct to go outside the rim. Just stay with the kickbacks. Not the kickbacks. Stay with the drive-by shootings, with the drugs, with the murders, with the barrio fights and all these things.
Yeah, don't cast such a wide net. Yes.
Yeah, but don't go after the white-collar crimes. Let the FBI handle that. The problem is that I told the FBI to handle it, and they did handle it, and they were doing a good job under an assistant U.S. attorney. They were doing an excellent job.
And you are not going outside your jurisdiction, as some shallow news reports in the area seem to insinuate, quoting other people, that somehow this was beyond your jurisdiction. I mean, this really is within your jurisdiction.
Well, of course, because the murder took place in Willacy, so anything connected to the murder is within my jurisdiction.
Regardless of where it may have happened.
Yeah, people have a hard time understanding how can a DA have jurisdiction over Vice President Dick Cheney. Well, when Dick Cheney came here and shot this individual, his partner there in Kennedy County, which I have reasons to believe that he was not in Kennedy County when the shooting took place.
The infamous hunting incident?
Right. That was actually in Willacy. They were hunting in Willacy. The ranch is in Willacy.
Lo and behold.
But they knew that how strict I am. And the first thing that the law says, if somebody gets shot, the first thing is that you have got to get a urine test immediately or a blood sample immediately. That's what the law says. That was not done to Mr. Cheney. And they had not moved him out of my county, I would have insisted that he needed to urinate in a cup. So, assuming that he's a vice president, he comes here, shoots somebody, whether it's an accident, fine. But does Kennedy or Willacy have jurisdiction? Of course they do. It doesn't matter that he's a vice president,
No man is above the law.
No man is above the law. Yes. In this particular case, they treated him different because the law says, did he took a urine test? Of course not. And so my understanding from day one when they told me, because Dick Cheney goes through here every time he goes hunting, so I know where they go hunting, and it is not in Kennedy, it is in Willacy. But they moved him quickly outside my county because they knew what I was going to do, is I was going to have him insisted that he urinate in a cup.
Very interesting little segue there. Well, Juan Guerra, current Willacy County DA, your efforts are certainly valiant amidst these tough odds that you're dealing with. And this has been Across the Nation with AmericanFreePress.net. I'm the national corresponding editor, one of 3 at AFP, Mark Anderson. We'll see you next time online. Thanks.